Hello and welcome back once again to SideEye. Today we will talk about Arnav Singh Raizada, or shall we call him ASR. Okay, so before we begin with this video, कुछ basics clear कर लेते हैं. Because I'm also a fan of the serial, इस प्यार को क्या नाम दूं? And interestingly, I was also a fan of ASR, till I recently rewatched it. It's not that I hate the serial now. Instead, it's more about not falling for the problematic things. Honestly, when I was rewatching, I enjoyed the show, and at times it made me laugh hysterically even. But at this time, at many instances, my heart sank because I really did not want ASR to behave the way he did. And yes, this video is about my thoughts, and I'm definitely not aiming to do moral policing over a fictional thing. But I do understand the soft power that these serials hold. Aesthetics make it romantic, and we start to desire the same things in our life. But the irony is, in real life, when we come across such behavior, it's neither tolerable nor romantic. This simple irony proves the point that the aesthetic packaging of such toxic things make it desirable, and that's the soft power they hold. And I think where it really changed for me was when I stopped reacting emotionally to certain scenes and started asking myself a very simple question. If this exact thing happened in real life, would I still call it romantic? Definitely no, because when Arnav publicly humiliates Khushi or grabs her arm, corners her against a wall during an argument, the show presents it as a tension. It presents it as a chemistry. But if we remove the cinematic framing and look at it plainly, what is this behavior? It is a man using physical dominance to assert control during a disagreement. That's not chemistry, that's intimidation. The background music tells us it's passion. The slow motion tells us it's intensity. But if you remove the music and just look at the action, what remains is nothing more than anger expressed through physical force. And romance cannot be built on fear. Intensity and intimacy are not the same thing. Earlier I never separated the two. Now I do, and separation changes everything. Then comes the contract marriage, and for me, this is where the show moves from flawed hero territory into something much more serious. Because this is no longer about temper or misunderstanding. This is totally about power. He believes she is involved with Shyam and he is hurt. Okay, that's fine. But instead of confronting her directly and asking the truth, he starts blackmailing her. He threatens to stop Payal's wedding unless she agrees to marry him. Now think about that calmly. If someone forces you into marriage by leveraging your family's honor and happiness, would you still call that romantic in real life? Or would you clearly recognize it as coercion? Because situation like this is not fictional. People are pressurized into marriages in the name of family honor, social reputation, or keeping everyone happy. And when that happens in real life, we do not describe it as an intense love. We see it as emotional pressure. So when Arnav threatens to stop Payal's wedding, unless Khushi agrees to marry him, the act itself is not very different. What changes is the context in which we are watching. It is packaged with pain, betrayal, dramatic background music, and the image of conventionally attractive hero. But if we remove the aesthetics, what remains behind is not very romantic or worth making fan edits. Now that is where accountability should have entered the story, and honestly, it never really did. Now let's talk about the trauma properly, because this is the biggest defense people use. They say Arnav saw his mother taking her own life. He grew up with the betrayal and emotional damage. That is real trauma. It absolutely shapes a person. But here is the part that often gets ignored. That Khushi also grew up with loss. The loss of losing her parents. She also carries abandonment. She also has emotional scars. Yet, she does not weaponize her trauma. She does not humiliate people when she feels insecure. She does not assert dominance when she feels threatened. In fact, there is a moment in the show where Arnav throws her orphanhood back at her in anger. So we excuse his trauma as a reason for his harshness, but we treat her trauma as something that simply makes her strong or pure. Why is his pain allowed to become aggression while her is expected to become grace? And maybe this is not accidental. Maybe we are more comfortable watching women absorb pain quietly than watching men process the same pain responsibly. He is allowed to externalize his trauma through anger, but she is expected to internalize hers and remain sunshine. This imbalance shows how the narrative protects him more than it protects her. His anger is contextualized and her suffering is normalized. Now I want to say something slightly uncomfortable. The pretty privilege. Yes, let's use that word. Arnav Singh Raizada is attractive. Barun Sobati performed the role with immense charm and screen presence, which definitely affects the perception. Now imagine the exact same actions, the grabbing, the controlling tone, the forced marriage, the poolside punishment, but performed by someone who does not fit the conventional beauty standards. Would the audience still call him intense, or would they call him problematic immediately? Would he be romanticized or labeled dangerous? Sometimes aesthetics soften morality. When something looks beautiful, we are more willing to excuse behavior that we would otherwise question. And I genuinely think pretty privilege played a role in how much tolerance this character received. Another thing I noticed during rewatching is that while Arnav changes, he rarely truly apologizes in a way that reflects deep accountability. Yes, he falls in love, he becomes protective, he softens, but change without reckoning feels incomplete. Where was the moment when he genuinely sat with the weight of forcing someone into forced marriage? Where was the real remorse for making her sleep outside by the pool? for repeatedly doubting her character, for attacking her dignity in anger. An intense confession of love is definitely powerful, but it is not same as restitution. Redemption feels earned only when accountability precedes it. And this is why this conversation is not hate. I still enjoy the show. I still feel nostalgic when Rabaway plays. But nostalgia and critical thinking can coexist. The show did not change, but we did. Earlier, many of us romanticized the alpha male who softens only for one woman. Now we question the power imbalance that dynamic creates. Earlier, we thought love meant endurance and suffering was the proof of deep love. Now we ask a much healthier question. Why should love require this kind of suffering? So when we revisit characters like ASR, we are not cancelling them. We are understanding what they represented at that time and more importantly, why we are not no longer willing to normalize it today. Thank you everyone. Do like, share and subscribe our channel.